Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to move into changing fractions to decimals. We have finished our fractions unit, we have finished our decimals unit, and so the next part would be to change from one to the other. Okay, so say you were given a mixed number here, and after we do the mixed numbers, I'm going to go back and do a couple examples without the whole numbers involved. But say you're given a mixed number, like the one you have in your notes here on C1, and it says 2 3/8. So you're going to change 2 3/8 to a decimal. Okay, and now the first thing that you're going to do is you're actually going to ignore the whole number for a few minutes. You're just going to focus on the fraction, okay, because that's the part that you're going to change to a decimal. It's just the fraction part. Okay, and so step one here, when you're focusing on the fraction, is you're going to divide the numerator, okay, and hopefully you remember that the numerator is the top number, by the denominator. There you go. Okay, and when we say divide the numerator by the denominator, that means that you put the top number on the inside and the bottom number on the outside. Okay, and so if you look here over on the right, we started with the 3 on the inside and we had the 8 on the outside. Okay, well, when we went to divide 8 into 3, well, 8 can't go into 3, so you had to put a 0 there, right? Okay, so what do? You add a decimal and then you add a 0, and now can 8 go into 30? Well, yeah, sure can. So 8 goes into 30 3 times, and 3 times 8 is 24. So now we subtract 30 minus 24, and we get 6. Okay, well, we're not done because we still have a remainder. So we add another 0, we bring it down, and then we have 8 goes into 60 7 times, and 8 times 7 is 56. And you subtract those and you get 4. Okay, and then you add another 0 because we still have a remainder, so that 0 comes down. 8 times 5 is 40. Okay, I guess I should have wrote that for you. 8 times 5 is 40. So when you subtract, you get 0, and you're done. Okay, so now we have our decimal is 0.375, or 375 thousandths. Okay, now that we've finished our decimal part, okay, now we have to put the whole number back into our problem. So we got to remember that 2 that was in the problem. So that's our whole number. Okay, and what you do is you put the whole number before the decimal. So if you look down here, okay, there's our 0.375, and there's our 2 before it. That's all there is to it. Divide the fraction, numerator divided by the denominator, and then you add the whole number before it. Alright, before we do the try these, I want to really quickly just do another one, but that's just a fraction for you guys. So let's say we had 6 over 10. Okay, now there's easier ways to do this, but because you could just read that, right? It says 6/10, right? And 6/10, if you think about that as a decimal, 6/10, we would just write that like that, right? Because 6/10. Okay, but let's say, for instance, we didn't know just right offhand that that was written like that. So what would you do? You would have to divide, and so we would put the 6 on the inside and the 10 on the outside. Now the 10 can't go into 6, so we got to add a decimal and add a 0. So we put our 0 there, we bring our decimal up. So 10 goes into 60 6 times, and that's 60. And we have no remainder, so there you go, 0.6, 0.6. So it's just that simple, okay? To figure out how to change a fraction to a decimal, you put the top number on the inside, or the numerator on the inside, and you put the denominator on the outside, and then you divide, okay, and add a decimal afterwards. Alright, so you got a couple try these right there, so give those a shot. Those are both mixed numbers, so remember, you divide the fraction first, and then you put the whole number before it when you're done. Okay, give those a shot. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. 26 5/8. So hopefully you've already done this. If you haven't, pause it right now and do it first. Okay, so again, we're going to focus first on the fraction. So we need to turn 5/8 into a fraction. So the numerator goes inside, so that's 5, and the 8 goes on the outside. Now 8 can't go into 5, so that's 0. So we add a decimal and we add a 0. 8 goes into 50, bring our decimal up. We're going to go with how many times? 6 times. There you go. 8 times 6 is 48. We're going to subtract. And we have 50 minus 48 is 2. And we still have a remainder, so we got to keep going. So add a 0. There you go. 8 goes into 20 2 times. That's 16. And 20 minus 16 is 4. So we're not done still. So we add another 0. 8 goes into 40. 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. So we're done. Okay, so our decimal is 625 thousandths, and now we can't forget about our whole number. So our final answer is 26 and 625 thousandths. Okay, so 26.625 or 26 and 625 thousandths. Alright, so let's look at the last one. So we have 13 and 6 over 9, so we're going to focus on that 6 over 9. The 6 goes on the inside, 9 on the outside, add our decimal. Okay, 9 can't go into 6, so we add a 0. 9 goes into 60 6 times. 9 times 6 is 54. Subtract those, and you get 6. Add a 0. We're back to 60 again. Alright, so look at that. So 9 goes into 6, and we got the same thing again. 6 times, that's 54. And we're getting a little vicious circle here, right? It's going to keep going around and around and around. So we're going to keep doing that forever. So instead, what do? We stop, and we put a repeating bar over the top. Okay, so it is 0.6 with a repeating bar on it. So our final answer for this problem, we bring our whole number down, 13.6 with a repeating bar over the 6. And that is your final answer. Alright, you got some work to do along with this. Get to work.